if you have any kind of resentment that is continuing to brew inside of you, any kind of long-term issues that you're having a hard time forgiving somebody, and the pain that somebody has caused you is regurgitating in your thinking and in your spirit. If you want to get the best night's sleep you ever gotten, the key is to learn how to forgive and to let go. You will find that that stress of holding on to the pain of the unforgiveness and the wrong that you've suffered from somebody else will disappear, and you will be able to approach life with a whole new set of light and understanding.
It's Ultra Life today. Really great conversation about brain health. We've got Adam Payne down here, CEO, founder of Ultra Botanica. We've got Keith Bishop, retired pharmacist, clinical nutritionist, amazing health coach, specializing in dementia, Alzheimer's, cognitive decline, and also in cancer. You'll want to reach out to him. We'll tell you how to do that at the end of the segment. But the overlooked thing in so many people's lives, Adam, Keith, it's getting a good night's sleep. So how do we do that? And what are the ingredients for a bad night's sleep? What is a bad night's sleep? Well, how can we avoid that and actually have a good night's sleep?
Mm-hmm. A lot of times, sleep is a complex process. It has to do with a lot of it's chemically based upon neurotransmitters in our brain. But anything that disrupts the neurotransmitters and the hormone balance in the body is going to significantly affect the quality of sleep. Just the ability to get to sleep for a lot of people, it's a task. Staying asleep and then getting into what we call restorative regenerative sleep is very difficult for some people, because that restorative regenerative or REM sleep is elusive for some people. And some of the solutions that are given to us medically, like what is that wonderful drug that people take? It's escaping me right now.
You're not talking about Ambien.
Ambien, yes. One of a lot of people's favorite.
Memory issues,
but also
amnesia.
It doesn't always bring people into REM sleep.
Right. Oh, exactly.
And so there's so many things that contribute to good sleep, and there are so many things that can disrupt sleep. Keith, what is your general approach to sleep wellness?
So, matter of fact, I wish I didn't have to sleep. There's so many things. There's so many things I want to do in my life. I
appreciate that.
I do too,
I really,
actually.
I would not sleep if I didn't know it was important. Okay, and so therefore, although obviously, I can feel the effects if I don't get my sleep. So I have forced myself, and actually it's part of my program. We talked about things I do, exercise and things like that, but part of that is even my nighttime routine. I have to turn it off. And actually, my wife, my partner, helps me with that. And as a matter of fact, I have the computer app, and my phone, to help remind me it's time to turn things off. And so we have to, turn off that stimulation, and sit back and relax. And that's when I do some of my relaxation, some of my meditation type activities and breathing activities. And with that, I can go to sleep very quickly. Also, I can stay awake for a long time.
Are you a night owl kind of person? So given your weathers, you would stay up till 2 in the morning?
I'd rather stay up to 2 or 3 in the morning. I can get some of my best work done at night, but I know I need to sleep.
Sure.
And so
there are a lot of people that struggle like that. My wife is one of those people. Having her way, she'll have me up with her to 2 and 3 in the morning, because that's when she is the most mentally activated.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So what do you do to help to get yourself into a routine? Is it routine?
Routine is, matter of fact, our body loves routine and habit.
Yeah.
And we like to eat at certain times, like to wake up at certain times. Our body's made for this sunlight.
That's right.
And light and daytime, and so that's very important. And so, but I have to go, especially this time of year is a little bit more of a challenge, because it's summertime now, and therefore, 9 o'clock, it's tempting for me to be outside doing things. and I shouldn't be doing that. I need to be relaxing. So 9 o'clock, actually I have an alarm go off at 9, no more computer. Supposedly, I'm trying not to do that.
Good luck.
Okay, and my wife is helping me. And matter of fact, we will even have a discussion sometimes, almost an argument about it. You know, I may push back a little bit. I've got a project. She says, yes, but you need to rest. And so she's trying to take care of me.
That's nice.
It is.
Do you turn your internet off at night when you go to sleep?
I don't.
Wow.
No.
I've heard that's really helpful.
Well,
Yeah, you can't do anything.
Well, sure, and that's why it led me to think of that very thing to say, Adam. But I just meant
I like
have to.
I like that idea.
We just turn it off, and matter of fact, we go to another room, so there's no TV in the bedroom.
Right.
You know, I've got a plastic bag in the window to make it darker.
Yep.
And so no light
Sleep
comes
masks
in.
work great
And
for a
matter
lot
of
of
fact,
people.
you know, fire trucks come through the neighborhood, and there's an emergency across the street. Everybody in the neighborhood knows what's going on. We don't have the foggiest idea. People would say, what happened across the street? We don't know. We can't tell you
You're
because we
actually
can't
getting
hear it.
real regenerative sleep. then.
And so we are really working at that. Now, I do have to, besides turn off the alarm, and then I do the meditation, I call it belly breathing and concentrated and counting. And I did learn that in Psych 101 too. Some of that relaxation, I can turn it off and go to sleep within a few minutes.
Yeah, that's like a vasonerve.
Yeah,
Vagus
Vagus nerve.
Vagus nerve
It works
stimulation.
every time, and it's easy. But I also have a tendency after about 4 or 5 hours to start waking up. And I do have to do something for that because we do need those 7 hours of sleep or so, 6 minimum, 7 or 8. Study after study after study shows that that's important for
Great
the brain.
information.
It's so
Great
important.
information.
Now, I have to take something for that because my cortisol has a tendency to start going up, especially if I know I've got something I'm working on.
And so that's a stress response.
It's stress response. And so with that, my cortisol will start wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning unless, and I have to take an herb to help me with that. And so I take ashwagandha.
Okay.
Very interesting.
And it is amazing.
Beautiful adaptogenic
It
herb.
really is. And
So what's its effect on you, Keith?
Well, and so it allows me to sleep past the 3, 4, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock alarm goes off, and it's like, I'm going to hit the snooze instead of just, being wide awake at
Wow.
3 or 4.
Impressive.
So I definitely get that 7 to 8 hours of sleep with
Wow.
that. And then, and like almost all of us, I will run out of it or decide, oh, well, maybe I don't need it. And every single time within 2 or 3 days, I'm waking up early again.
Yeah, and that's obviously tied to this whole cortisol connection.
Yes,
adrenal
definitely.
fatigue,
That
all
particular
of that.
thing is
and
cortisol.
That's kind of, didn't you say you have a tendency to move in that zone, a little bit of adrenal fatigue?
I do have a tendency. And so
Okay.
once again, I do way too many things.
Gotcha.
And
How about melatonin? I know there's sometimes controversy about melatonin, but you as a guy that's coaching people with active cancers, that's
So-
something that is spoken about as being profound. I know a lot of integrative doctors that do high-dose melatonin.
So my understanding is that melatonin artificially creates that bolus of melatonin that you would get when it's going from light to dark. So it's essentially creating a stimulus that our bodies should normally interpret as, oh, it's time to go
yeah,
into
the
sleep
pineal
mode.
gland, boom, releasing melatonin naturally.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that a not proper understanding?
it is, but
But
moderation's always the key.
Yeah.
Okay. And so in cancer, we'll go with this a minimum 40 milligrams at least once a day.
Which we're talking a true therapeutic dose.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we're
now,
talking about gigantic.
specifically
This is not-
targeted toward that disease.
This is not sleep.
Right,
Okay. This
okay.
is more cancer. But at 40 milligrams, actually now it's going to keep you awake. And so I have I've tested a lot of people, a lot of neurotransmitters, and they are for sleep, and a lot of them are high in melatonin.
oh,
Okay,
interesting.
Interesting.
And so melatonin actually is a byproduct. Our body naturally makes it. It's a byproduct. Actually, serotonin, the antidepressant, is required to make melatonin. And so some people just naturally shift over into that. So to get rid of the melatonin is a challenge.
Serotonin is also what's released as a bolus in our brain when we go into sleep.
Right. It
right?
is,
And so if you don't have enough serotonin, that wave of serotonin through the brain doesn't happen, and you can't sleep. This is one of the parts of alcoholism as a disease. So alcohol actually replaces serotonin in the brain. The brain, it loses its ability to hold on to serotonin. It's gone, baby. And then people with alcoholism, in order for them to go to sleep, they have to create an alcohol bolus in their brain in order for the brain to be able to go unconscious.
Yeah, and sadly, that has to be increasing oftentimes in an alcoholic's life.
Yeah.
So they drink themselves to sleep.
They have to.
Because
they don't have serotonin
And I'm
anymore.
glad you mentioned that, because there was a really interesting brain health guy that's world famous on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he talked specifically about, are you using alcohol to get yourself to sleep? Do you use THC to get yourself to sleep? And he said, you actually just pretty much guaranteed you're not going to get into those operative deep sleep phases that you need that are regenerative.
Restorative and regenerative, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
So we've seen a lot of benefit with people, Keith, that to take Endolift right before they go to sleep.
It is unusual and it does work.
Helping them to have a deeper restorative sleep. And it's changed my life. I can wake up with only 4 or 5 hours of sleep feeling refreshed.
Very different than you used to.
Right. Waking up in the morning for me used to be a 2 to 3 hour journey of crawling into consciousness. Right. Now I wake up, I'm present. I'm alive. My brain feels relaxed. And I think it's because I'm probably some neurotransmitter deficient in my brain naturally, and that extra bolus. I use that word quite a lot, haven't I? It means just a big
lot.
bubble of it, right? That extra bolus of neurotransmitters is helping my brain to get into deep sleep and to stay into that state.
Yes, and so. Now, also the advantage about melatonin, though, so it is important. Our body naturally makes it. Melatonin is an antioxidant. It repairs the body and the brain,
which is what we're looking for in a good night's sleep, to reset the metabolism and to begin to restore tissue.
Right.
Regenerate.
Yeah, we have to have
that.
We have to have that melatonin. So it is even though we've got easy for me to get off into the cancer area at high doses, but at low doses, it can, for some people, help them go to sleep. If you take it and doesn't help you go to sleep, that's because your melatonin's okay.
Yeah, I think one thing that is overlooked a lot of the time, people who are struggling with their weight and they're overweight, they know they need to change their diet and do a variety of things, learn how to get a good night's sleep, because fat metabolism takes place when a person moves into the regenerative sleep cycles. Getting that true deep sleep will actually help that process.
That's right. Yeah. So, in a lot of there's biohacking tools, smart watches, and
they can actually measure the sleep cycle.
That's how we discovered that Endolift was working. A dear friend of ours, his uncle had cancer, and he's a cancer coach, and he was coaching, and he intuitively said to his nephew, could I take this Endolift at night? He was taking it during the day for kind of anxiety and lack of focus and brain fog. And he took it at night, and he called me all excited, his uncle, and he tried it after his uncle did. And they both wear those hour ring type watches that measure the sleep cycles and stuff. Yeah, and they're like, we went into deep sleep, regenerative sleep, quicker, and we stayed there. My uncle, up to twice as long, and I stayed there 40 to 50% longer. And he's like, you need to try that. We mentioned it to Mary Jane Fry, our friend, pharmacist as well, and a nutritional consultant. And she began to have people that were experiencing insomnia for years at a time, especially related to hormonal imbalance. Now most people that don't have hormonal imbalance, they'll get a good night's sleep the first night they take it. But other people were getting it that had struggled with insomnia for decades. And it took about 10 days, though.
7 days. There's a lady that had about 7 years ago an emergency hysterectomy. After the hysterectomy, she did not have a good night's sleep for 7 years until she tried Endolift. She did it for a week, and after a week, she started to have regular, deep, restorative, regenerative sleep.
It's such an interesting tool that you can put all these precursors of amino acids, then the body naturally generates its own brain chemicals, and all of a sudden somebody's sleeping or they're not.
It shows we know a lot, but I think it's just now coming together, all of this knowledge about what is a healthy brain. A healthy brain is a brain that's not dealing with inflammation. It has all of the building blocks it needs to create whatever neurotransmitters it has. So it's healthy, well-balanced nutrition. And it's a brain that is given an opportunity to have restorative, regenerative time, a healthy night's sleep.
Okay, some myth busting here for you, Keith.
Okay.
Eat dinner early or eat dinner late for a good night's sleep?
Ooh.
Early.
Okay.
And
very good.
So that we need to eat that food, digest it, so that the people that are laying down are not going to reflux.
That's a
right.
good thing.
And that's part of it. But our body's made more like, our body's made along the lines of daylight hours.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we need to be eating more in the daylight time. Artificial lights allow us to alter that.
Right.
It's not necessarily for the best.
Right.
And
being
earlier is better.
And being in front of blue screens and computer screens,
yes.
we now truly
That's right.
know it really messes with an individual's ability to go to sleep well or to then get into regenerative or restorative sleep also.
Right.
So, I know some practical steps that other people have talked about. If you think you should go to bed at 12, start going to bed at 11, go to bed an hour earlier. Turn off your blue screens at least 15 to 30 minutes before you go to bed.
I do an hour.
There you
Wow.
go. Get the
An
cell
hour.
phones. Good discipline
Turn
for
that
you.
off.
Get the cell phones out of the room. Don't keep them in the room where you definitely don't sleep with them. And, there's a...
For naive people like myself, what is this whole blue screen thing? I mean, seriously, what is it?
It really, the eye gate, as you know, stimulates the brain. And they have proven that the blue screen will stimulate the brain in a certain way that's
So
going
you're
to keep
talking
you
about
from
blue
entering
wavelengths
into
of
those sleep
energy?
cycles.
Yeah, like
Like
blue
sunlight.
sky.
Yeah.
Blue
Oh,
sky.
blue sky. Oh, so seeing those colors actually stimulates the brain
Yes.
and keeps it
Like
from
it's
getting
daytime.
into
Like
it's
it's daytime.
Oh.
And so sunlight and actually certain light bulbs
Yeah,
are a greater
exactly.
concern.
Like
Yeah.
full
So,
spectrum bulbs and stuff like
full
that.
spectrum
spectrum
are off.
LEDs and iPhones and computers are now LED type screens.
Right.
And they have a tendency to have more of that blue. You can turn timers and settings.
I know
on
there's like you can
computers
shift
and-
some to sleepy time mode,
Right.
So it stops the blue transmission or lowers it.
That's correct. It lowers it.
Lowers it.
It lowers it, but also that's the time you should be putting it away anyway.
So scientifically, this is not bunk science. This is true. That
Yeah.
getting away the blue light is actually helpful.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, and for those of you that have always loved to read before bed, if you're not doing it on a Kindle or a computer or a device, reading for a few minutes before bed can be a marvelous way to set your brain up for a good night's sleep.
But it needs to be paper.
Yes, exactly.
It needs to be a
yeah,
book,
no devices.
a magazine,
Absolutely.
not the electronics.
Exactly.
Well, the Kindle Paperwhite is not transmitting photons. So there's some Kindles that
Okay,
actually
maybe I
that
haven't
don't
studied
that are
that.
like
Okay.
paper, right?
Okay. I don't know.
There are, yeah.
Okay.
It is. Yeah.
And
I'll
also,
vouch for that.
another trick I heard a sleep expert mention was have a tablet or a pencil and paper by your bed or a pen and paper, and even just writing a few things down for 2 or 3 minutes, whether it's, I need to do this tomorrow, whatever it may be, or if you're a poet or you just have some thoughts or something you want to say to your
So you don't
grandkids or
forget it.
something. Well, and
Get
that's
it out on
that's
paper
that's
so your brain can kind of say, I got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
now that's a part of it, but they actually say just, again, looking at the paper, doing the actual writing is somehow helpful. I thought that was interesting.
It is overall. For some people it's not going to work. For me, it doesn't. Once I start writing,
that's you. Yeah, you're projecting
I'm going.
again, aren't you?
I'm going.
It makes sense.
I'm writing.
Makes
I'm
sense.
writing, and the list is going, and I can't do that. But yes, that is actually, if you have a thought or something that is bothering you or a project you need to work on, they say in science says that yes, you need to write that down, and so in your mind, okay, I've got that taken care of. Yeah. Tomorrow, I'm going to take care of that. It's written down.
Well, I don't know. I can't tell you how many times I use this. Actually, I used to use this much more as a young man in college and stuff. I would go to sleep, and there'd be some question or some problem I was trying to solve. I would kind of plug it into my brain computer, and I would say, okay, self, here's the problem. I don't know how to figure this one out.
And resolution comes.
I would wake up in the morning many times with that, like, eureka.
Right.
I got it. I know the solution, because our brains, our higher consciousness does work on things better in a creative mode when it's not like iron grip, need to figure this out right now. And we can relax our hold on the problem and let it kind of float to higher levels of consciousness.
Now this is going to seem like a foolish question to some people, but still there's those of us that sometimes don't think things through. Keith, does a nice bit of exercise in a day help to stimulate a good night's sleep?
Yes, scientific studies show that time and time and time again. When you exercise could be important.
You don't want to do it too late, right?
Probably not.
Can keep
Exactly.
You going for a
exactly. So,
okay.
So it's typically earlier in the day. I choose to do it. Actually, I do it in the afternoon now. I kind of depend.
Do you do prior to dinner?
And yes, I do.
Yeah, so maybe
definitely
finish up exercise and maybe eat dinner an hour and a half later.
Exactly. Yes.
Perfect.
And so, and then, and it does help. I think it works in physical. There's some physical aspects to it, but also some mental type things. For me, it's like, I did something great for myself, and it's just like it's rewarding.
Absolutely.
Part of the dopamine and these neurotransmitters. Like, I did good today, and
yeah, mental affirmation is profound.
It's good,
and so it's so rewarding to know that I did something good for myself instead of just work, type of thing. And so for me, I have to be very careful about that stimulating nighttime activity. And I can do it to a certain extent, but physical activity at night.
So I want to bring up something that for a lot of people that are not getting a good night's sleep, despite all of these efforts, the biggest culprit, Josh, is having unforgiveness in their hearts.
It's a very, very powerful
And I just
thing.
wanted to encourage
it affects all of
any of our listeners here. If you have any kind of resentment that is continuing to brew inside of you, any kind of long-term issues that you're having a hard time forgiving somebody, and the pain that somebody has caused you is regurgitating in your thinking and in your spirit. If you want to get the best night's sleep you ever gotten, the key is to learn how to forgive and to let go. You will find that that stress of holding on to the pain of the unforgiveness and the wrong that you've suffered from somebody else will disappear, and you will be able to approach life with a whole new set of light and understanding.
So beautiful that you brought that up, Adam. Something that we know is kind of epidemic now that 30 years ago wasn't, is this sleep apnea issue, Keith.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's still a problem.
Well, now it's just epidemic now. I mean, I think
it's epidemic because people have recognized sleep apnea for the danger that it causes to the human body.
Yeah, and so that was my question. Mm-hmm. So an individual with sleep apnea, so we know they're sleep deprived. Mm-hmm. We know they're missing restorative and regenerative sleep. What is, and again, we're moving into a lengthy period of time here, but what is Keith's recommendation? And I think we've covered a lot of it in this very show. We've covered exercise. We've covered certain elements of supplementation. We're talking about sleep right now. We talked about diet. As it relates to sleep apnea.
We've talked about microminerals. We've talked about the oral health being important. All of these different things.
An individual that historically has sleep apnea may be using a machine at night. Are a lot of the things we covered in this show something that practically is going to help them move out of that? Because we know weight loss will occur on a good balanced ketogenic diet. Supplements will certainly have a role to play in that as well. Exercise, can't say enough about it.
Yes, exercise, many different things. But then there's also a physical thing that's in here that's going on for that. And so
in the thyroid.
No, not the thyroid. I mean in the neck.
In the neck. Okay.
In this area here. And so if this is swollen, it's going to choke off things and make it difficult to breathe.
My biologic dentist was telling me about a lot of research being done about the shape and the size of this for some people.
Opening. It is this opening. And so if a person has a lot of body weight, body fat, that's going to press on this and make it more difficult to breathe.
Especially if they relax and it's all falling down on itself.
And positioning is important. I'm not an expert in that positioning, but for some people they do better. Matter of fact, something else for sleep, and I think it's very important. Sleep is so critical for brain function and memory. Nighttime is when the brain detoxes.
Yeah.
And so there's what they call it, not lymphatic, but glyphatic glioma, which is a brain cell. But in the brain is a lymphatic system that drains best when you're on your sides, sleeping on your side. So sleeping on your back.
I'm a side sleeper.
I'm a side
all
sleeper.
night long on either side. And then in the morning for about 30 minutes, I go to the back.
I might do that too, but I'm concentrating on the side.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
But it may not make much difference as to which side. One might be a little better than the other, but that's a minor thing. But on the side, just the positioning about that allows for the brain to detox.
Awesome.
To drain out.
Cool
Is there any kind of like mild massage that people can do to improve that lymphatic movement, or has anybody even talked about
it's
that?
Up here.
So it's up here internally.
Internally going down, and so not that I know of, but it's a positional.
That makes sense.
So laying on the back or on your stomach, it's not going to work as well as on your side. So, in the popular adjustable beds and people laying on their back may not be good for the brain.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
you really need to be
interesting.
supine. You need to be laying out.
Yeah. So we need to be very careful about that as something else worth looking at.
Okay,
so.
Keith, this has been awesome. Any final thoughts as it relates to brain health, cognitive decline that you want to just summarize real quick before we say goodbye?
Yeah, there's so many things that we've talked about.
We have.
And
please watch the segments, rewatch the segments.
Watch it
Such
again. Watch
incredible
it again.
information.
Share it with people, with
Yes.
loved ones, but most important is take one step.
Absolutely.
Take one step that we've talked about,
did.
say, okay, I'm going to make this change. I'm going to apply this, and for a week or two, whatever. And we can do one step at a time, easier than trying to do
Everything.
Yeah,
all
you
at
did.
once.
different things.
You
Okay.
brought me back to one of the things that I have preached for years as a guy that's a quasi, back pocket nutritional health coach with people, and that is everything you've heard us talk about today. Don't try to eat the apple all at once. Truly just take the one step Keith was talking about, the one bite at a time, and let that be, like he said, the thing that you think about at the end of the day and you go, I nailed that.
Did that.
I did that.
Yeah.
Whether it was walking across the room 5 times rather than taking an hour walk, you did that. And then build on that.
Right.
Slowly but surely, you'll win that race.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's number one. Then we have to make sure that we're just eating right and exercise. I mean, those are things that don't cost anything, but have such dramatic impacts. We've got to get the proteins. We've got to get our vitamins and minerals. We have to absorb our foods.
Yeah, speaking of those baby steps, I literally tell people, if you go to a drive-through 6 times a week, just make it your goal this week to just go 5 times.
Sure.
And then 4 times, because
And-
you
and-
will begin to notice feeling different pretty
Also,
quick when
change
you're
from
avoiding
drinking
those.
pop 2 times, 3 times a day. Change it out to
Add at
1
least
cup
a
of water.
glass of water.
Yep,
Exactly,
change one
Adam.
meal to a glass of water.
Yeah.
Huge impact on your
we
overall
didn't
health.
touch on hydration. We'll talk about that in ad nauseum on another show. But yeah, hydration is a critical role as well. And purified water, but it does need trace minerals. You got to have that in them. That's Adam Payne sitting on the end, CEO of Ultra Botanica, lead inventor of the incredible LPS technology that's literally become a go-to for doctors all over the world to recommend to their patients what we do with this incredible patented technology. Keith Bishop, our dear friend, who is always making himself available to add wisdom to our lives, retired pharmacist, clinical nutritionist, amazing health coach in the arena of cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, dementia, as well as cancer. You can contact Keith at flourishrx.com. That's FLOURISHRX.com, or prevailovercancer.com. I'm Josh Bellieu. This is Ultra Life Today. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you.